Continuing on this idea of the transactional model of communication, the transaction model views communication as being integrated into our social realities in a way that helps us to not only understand those realities, but also to create and change them. And it describes these social realities within social, relational, and cultural contexts. And the transaction model recognizes that we don't just communicate to exchange messages. We communicate to create relationships, to form intercultural alliances, to shape our self-concepts, to engage with others in dialogue in order to create communities. And so communication helps us to construct our realities in all of these different ways. So let's take a look at these different contexts that have an influence on the way that we communicate. So first and foremost, we have social contexts. Social context refers to the stated rules and the unstated norms that guide our communication. So rules are things that are stated over and over, and there may be punishment for not following those rules. For example, when you were younger, your parents probably taught you to say please and thank you whenever you were requesting something, and maybe didn't give you that thing if you didn't say please and thank you. So that was a rule that is instituted by our society. It's a stated rule. Unstated norms, on the other hand, are social conventions that we pick up on through observation, practice, trial, and error. And so this is, for example, when you are on a crowded train and you're trying to get off of the train. And so you say, excuse me, pardon me, to all of the people around you in order to make your way through that crowd. Because maybe you saw someone else do the same thing and they were able to navigate the crowd successfully. So even though it's not explicit, right, it's an unstated norm, it still is a very powerful influence on the way that we communicate with one another. Another of these influences is the relational context in which we are operating in. And so the relational context is any previous interpersonal history that we have with the person with whom we are interacting. So our interaction is going to be very different with someone that we just met versus someone that we have known for a long time. The relationship there is different, and so as a result, we're going to communicate with those two individuals very differently. In addition to the relational history, we have the cultural context. And cultural context includes various aspects of our identities, such as race, gender, nationality, ethnicity, sexual orientation, class, ability, etc. And whether or not we are aware of it, we have multiple different cultural identities that influence our communication. And all of these different contexts help us to better understand the way that not only we communicate, but it also helps us to understand how others communicate and how their social, relational, and cultural contexts might be interacting or might be influencing the communication that they are having with us. So the transactional model is really trying to take this holistic view of communication and trying to understand all of these different elements that might influence the ways that we communicate with one another.